Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Brian again, and I am back to bring you one whiskey that I think you or most people out there are presently sleeping on. I know I was sleeping on this, and just earlier last week, I went over to a buddy's house, and he had this out. He said, "Have you tried it?" I said, "No, I had not tried it," and I even wasn't interested then, really. But I tried it, and I thought, where did you get this? Where did this come from? Um, where do you find it? I had seen it around, not really paid much attention to it. But I was like, man, for the price that you're telling me, this is kind of a no-brainer. And this bottle, without further ado, is the Pinhook Bohemian Bourbon. It says Crop 2020. It is 95 proof, so it's a little on the lower side. This is just over 3 years. Hear me out on this, okay? This is one of the first whiskeys conceptualized, whatever, and produced from scratch from Castle and Key, all right? So we are going to just get into this and talk about it a little bit. So one thing that I was really impressed with, so if you listen to the Intro Proof podcast, then you hear me and Drew talking about craft whiskey. Specifically, if you catch us on our Thursday night lives, you hear us talk about craft distillers. And I haven't really been going on this adventure that Drew has of trying these craft distilleries as much, but I've tried several of them. One of which we got samples of from our friend Tom, and he sent us some stuff from Middle West. And this stuff is in the 3-year range too. And for what you're getting at that 3-year range, I've been pleasantly surprised, especially as you have MGP being one, but then other people putting stuff out in your 4 years, in your 5 years, and they still taste hot. They still taste a little bit abrasive. It's fun to see some of these distillers putting out stuff where you can tell the mash bill is good, and as it gets more age, it's going to be even better. I think a lot of people are thinking that about Wilderness Trail right now. And other distilleries too. But when I tasted this, it was the first time that I was able to say, wow, what Castle and Key is doing, I think has a lot of promise. On the nose, it's going to give a little prelude to what I get on the palate. See if you can get some of the legs on here. It's not the thickest. You can kind of tell that by the color as well. But on the nose, you get notes of oak. You get notes of grass. And I mean that in a really positive way. Slightly sweet earthiness or like some chocolate notes, sweet toned. Underlying with some honey. Get some berries in there too. But I'm most surprised by the little bit of oak that it does have in there for this age. And then that honey sweetness. Again, this is a little bit going into the palate from trying it before. But one of the things I love about it so much is it doesn't necessarily give off the youthfulness that other pours do. Now, granted, this is at 95 proof, where some of the other things we talk about are at barrel strength. Maybe you can see some of their flaws a little bit more that way. But right away, and even looking into what other people have said about this pour, I've not seen someone point out that it has this peachiness to it. It almost reminds me of Evan Williams' 1783 a little bit. It's got a candied sweetness. It's floral. It's got a little bit of lemon, a little bit of orange. A little bit of candied corn, a little bit. And I'm not meaning that in the same way that you have some of these hotter corn flavors. And then it does move into some brown sugar, touch of cinnamon, but then trails with like some red fruit and oak. And what I love about this is it almost, I should have done my due diligence to look up what the char levels possibly are that they're using, if that is disclosed somewhere, because it does remind me a lot of kind of those Heaven Hill, softer, sweeter, lighter flavors, and not in the earthy, chocolate, darker flavors that you notice in some of the bottom shelf products. I mean it in a very pleasing way. It's layered with subtle nuance. It's light. It's fragrant and floral. These are all the kind of things that I like to find in a pour. Now, granted, a little bit more robust and a little bit more age. But for what you get in this, at least here in Louisville, a $34 price point, this is a bottle I think you all should have. I was pleasantly surprised for it. Again, just a little over 3 years. I want to say the mash bill is something like 75 corn, 15 rye, 10% barley. I'd have to double check that, so I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure that's what the recipe is. Again, this is coming in at 95 proof. It's an incredibly easy drinker. It's great as a palate opener, and it's just really nice to sip on. I'm not even going to necessarily suggest it in cocktails. I'm sure it would taste good, but for the balance that you get in this, I definitely think, especially if it's something that you're seeing passing up on the retail shelf, you should be picking up. Let me know if you've tried this Pinhook. I know there are other Pinhooks out there. I am not experienced with them. Maybe I'll try them someday. But let me know if you have tried this Bohemian Bourbon 95 proof from the 2020 crop of Pinhook. Let me know if you like it, if you don't like it. Let me know if there's other things that you want me to review. Send a message below or shoot me a line. I'd love to hear what you'd like me to talk about in the upcoming videos. Make sure that you're subscribing, liking, all that stuff. If you'd like more content, check out the Inch Proof podcast. It's a podcast I do with Drew P. Whiskey. He's also on YouTube, and we both do live streams on Thursday night on his channel of YouTube, as well as the audio form of the podcast at entryproofpodcast.com. You can support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/entryproofpodcast, and all the details to all that will be down below. Until next time, cheers, everybody.